Good evening, Desikan sir. I think you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Desikan sir, thank you so much. Hello, sir. Desikan sir, hello. Good evening. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm fine,
You can hear
sir.
me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy you're here too. And anyway, we will be meeting the students for our fortnightly, where I want you to speak to them. And I'm so happy you're here today as well. It's really nice. And we have, sir, I can see students who are joining us from
Yeah.
the previous batches. Last year and
Ah,
last year's batch students are also here from the
okay.
MOOC. I can see the names here. So we've informed our 2021 batch, our 2022 batch, and of course this year's batch. And it's an open event, so anybody who is interested from anywhere in the world is also welcome to join us today.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. That's great.
I think Gurinder will be joining us any minute. I'm extremely happy that Desikan Krishnan sir is also with us today. It's really an honor. Uh, One of the strong pillars of our course on SWAYAM. It is an honor and a blessing to have him with us today on the occasion of World Photography Day.
Oh, thanks, Radhika. Always nice to be talking to the students.
Yes, yes. You will get opportunities, sir. Next Sunday, we are meeting then. Gurinder is here.
Yeah,
Hi,
I was
Gurinder.
there. I was trying to. Actually, I'm sitting
Hi.
in my car right now.
Okay.
I was out
Really?
with my family. Yeah, I mean, this is the least noisy place.
Okay. So, are we going to do it from here?
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Okay.
mobile world now.
Okay. Wonderful. And Gurinder, Desikan sir is also with us.
How are you, sir?
Hi, Guri.
Uh, Am I okay in terms of light
Yeah,
and
Gurinder,
everything?
you're fine. I can see you fine.
Okay.
And I think this is really interesting on location.
Yeah, actually, I was planning to do it at Camera Museum. I'm
Okay.
scheduled to go there a little later. This is the museum where they display cameras also of all kinds of variety.
Yeah.
And there's an event there also. Just that
Okay.
I was out with family and it got a little delayed. But I'll be
Okay.
going there little after this. After this call, I'll go there.
Okay. That's just after the session you'll be going there to the camera museum?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I wish I was there. Then I could have shared the situation there also.
Okay.
But if you think it's required, I can plug in again later.
Not a problem. In case you reach on the way, that we can have a little bit of a and Desikan sirs with us anyway, and you can easily transport
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
inside because I know
Right.
Camera Museum is a great location, and for them to see you at
Yeah,
Camera
yeah.
Museum, that's a double bonus on World Photography Day.
Great, great. Because Aditya Raji had said you can use my office space also. So I said I want a
Yeah.
quieter space.
Hmm.
So that way it's all cool.
Ah,
I'll show the students around that place.
wonderful,
And they have
wonderful.
an event there also today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was there on my last visit to Gurgaon, and it was really
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Really,
it's
really
very well
beautiful.
lit.
It's really nice, yes. And I think if it happens, this will be like a surprise gift to everybody to see the
Hello,
campus
madam.
video.
Good evening.
Yes, Nizar. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. We're starting in a minute or two, please. We're just having a little chit chat while we wait for people to come in, and people are coming in, and we will take a minute or two. Meanwhile, you can look around the meeting room, see if you know any people are familiar. We have Gurinder Osan and we have Desikan Krishnan sir with us today, uh, uh, kind of giving a tribute and celebrating this joyous occasion of World Photography Day. And we will wait for 1 or 2 minutes and then we will start. So Gurinder, you'll be able to share your work. I've made you the co-host.
Yeah, yeah.
No issues, huh?
Yeah,
You'll
I will. What I'll
and
do is I have it. So I've my website. I changed my server, so sadly it got the old work got wiped out. But I'm
okay,
redoing my website, and a lot
okay,
of the relevant content is there. So it's enough
okay,
for the current purpose, I think. So
great.
we should manage.
And you're anyway, you are the co-host also. There should be no issues. You
Right.
should be able to share the screen or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. Should be fine.
Um, hey, people are coming in. Admit all.
That's good.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
is
yeah.
good.
So we're 64 people. So I have
Awesome.
announced that 100 people in the meeting room because I don't have, we can't accommodate more than 100 in my account. So after
Right.
100, they
Oh,
have to watch it live on YouTube. So
okay.
already
That's
there's
awesome.
65 people in the room. I think we can start now because 65 is a good number. Mr. Balamurgan, please help me and keep admitting people so I don't have to concentrate on admitting people. And whenever the meeting room doesn't allow anybody automatically, whenever it stops, then they will have to watch it on YouTube. And what you could do, maybe Enya or Mr. Balamurgan, you could put the link to watch online. People who are there, they don't need the link, right? They're already there. But maybe you can share that later on. So let's get starting then. Welcome all to today's edition of World Photography Day. And it's a great pleasure to be with all of you. And I can see people who have joined us from across the world. And I'm also very happy to see that there are people here who joined the massive open online course on photojournalism in 2021. I see them here. Some of them who joined in 2022, I see them here. I see the current batch of students who have joined this year, 2023. And of course, I can see a lot of new names who may be strangers, but I'm sure by the end of the evening, we're going to be friends. And what's going to unite us and connect us together is this beautiful form of expression called photography. And we have two beautiful human beings with us, Gurinder Osan and Desikan Krishnan sir, who's retired as the former photo editor of The Hindu. We are celebrating World Photography Day with Gurinder Osan and Desikan Krishnan sir. And where did World Photography Day come from? I learned this from Desikan Krishnan sir when we were making the MOOC on photojournalism. That Nipsey, the Frenchman Joseph Nipsey and Daguerre, when they came up with the first daguerreotype camera, and finally the French government acquired, the patent for it, and that was done on August 19th, I think in 1839. If I'm wrong, Desikan sir can correct me, and he's the encyclopedia on these things. So,
Mm.
and this is when was the genesis or the starting of the World Photography Day. And this year, I believe the theme of World Photography Day is landscape. And photography is a wonderful way to connect all of us with something beyond, beyond human. And I'm not going to come in the way between this beautiful art of photography and the speaker for today, Mr. Gurinder Osan. Mr. Desikan Krishnan, we'll invite him for another standalone event or a session another day. But today, Gurinder is going to hold the ground, and he's going to share with us a large body of work and experience that he's had in the field of photography. He has been introduced to all of you through the poster. So you know that he currently holds the position of being the photo editor at the Press Trust of India, and he's had a prolific career, having worked previously with many organizations. And I will let him tell you about his work and his life and his journey of how he started with photography through art and how he came to photography and where is he now today in the thick and at the heart of photojournalism. So over to you, Gurinder, and we are all eyes and ears.
Thank you so much, Radhika, and thank you, sir. This concern. So I'll be honest. I haven't prepared, and that's how I generally work. So it'll be great if I'm also prompted in between in case I'm going a little off track. I can come back to whatever is required to be. So bear with me on that. I think it's today's World Photography Day. We are nearly, like we mentioned, the date of 1939. We're nearly 200 years into photography. And now, when as a photojournalist, often I'm approached by students of photography who are saying that we'll dabble a bit with photography, but we really want to go towards video because that's where the money is. So that it is a bit of a crossroads for us in terms of our photographers making money from this field. But I keep saying one thing to them, and I repeat that for students of photography here, and it's on World Photography Day, that the medium is not irrelevant. The storytelling continues. So we are if that is there, if you want to tell a story, then photography is a very strong tool. And that also means that once your eye is trained visually, then the jump or the kind of multitasking or not multi or parallel working in video or in other forms of visual expression is not a tall order because your basics are already in place. The bigger task is to tell the story. And to tell the story, it doesn't mean a journalistic story only. It could be anything. It could even, like, ma'am, you mentioned about landscape being the theme. So if I'm saying that even landscape has a story to tell, and a very delicate one for those who are willing to sort of hear about it or have the ears for it. So the thing is that ultimately we are storytellers, and storytelling will always be there. If you take it from our mythological times till now, storytelling will never die, and we are gifted. Rather, to be, we are honored or blessed that we have equipment called a camera that helps us tell our stories differently and better. So I mean, it's great to be having this this asset of both the skill, the access to the knowledge, and also to be able to do eventually the task of a storyteller. So my career has been varied. I've When I began, I thought I'll join National Geographic straight away. Of course, I didn't get a job, and I didn't get a job for nearly a year. And then eventually, I joined Indian Express newspaper in Delhi. There, I joined as a trainee. So it was a interesting and a very educative 3.5 years approx there. And post that, I learned so many things about being in the field, about how to handle situations where the situation can turn nasty very soon, whether it is people pelting stones at you because you're shooting their illegal property, or if it is about a bomb blast that happened in Paharganj followed by another blast. And that term came to me called the tandem blast. And I said, oh my God, lightning strikes twice in these cases. So small learnings like these, and not just these kind of gory ones, but also like really shooting features which are on of what can be called human interest, where I'm shooting there was Raghurai's first wife, Usha Raiji. She used to do a lot of stories on development, so there was such an amazing association with her. She would always ask for me personally to be sent as the photographer to be in the field with her, and we did such amazing work on reporting from especially rural India on women issues and things like that. So it was really, really rich being in Indian Express and having people like Usha Raiji, and there was Ranjini Rajkumar. She used to do the arts page, and we used to do so much of that kind of shooting also of singers, dancers, artists, and the like. So it was really, really, educative for me being there. Post that, I joined Business World magazine. It was a complete jump, but that's how I am. I like to, dabble with I like challenges. So this was another one. And business magazine, everybody said it's called upon me and said, what are you going to do in a business magazine? You're going to go and shoot boring portraits of corporate honchos. So but to surprise everybody was later, because and so many of them, including Dinesh Krishnan, who's now with the Hindu, he also joined Business World, seeing what I was being able to do at the Business World magazine, which was to do with work. Like one of the features we did was a 2-week journey across India on the Indian Railways, and the feature was on the Indian Railways. So of how it kind of connects across the quadrangle of India, and how it is as an experience, and what are its ups and downs kind of. So it was very rich. We did another feature on the Indira Gandhi canal, which was being built in Rajasthan, and that was at a time when people were not handling stories like that. In fact, one of my colleague who later went to Bloomberg, he was showing his work in London somewhere, and people looked at that entire package of the text and photos and said, "My God, this is international quality." So what I'm saying is that this seems normal now, like this kind of approach to photography. But at that time, feature packages were not so common in India. The photojournalist was expected to take more of a standalone one picture that may get printed 3 to 4 columns in a newspaper max. So from that time to, like, what I'm saying is that they were like, I was blessed enough to be associated with organizations like that, which gave me the space and gave me the stories to go and explore out in that amazing period of India's, I would say, history also, because that was the time when the liberalization was happening in 1995, post when Dr. Manmohan Singh became the finance minister, and a lot of things were changing very, very dramatically. So I was, you see history, your eye becomes the camera, and through that eye you see the world change around you, and you're seeing history being created as you kind of walk through it literally with your equipment. So it's amazing. I think I'm very lucky to be a photographer. If I ask God what I want to be in my next life, I think I still want to be a photographer, because there is so much to learn through this medium, through this this amazing access that you have. Yeah. So I'm just saying that we are all, everybody who's gathered here on World Photography Day also, I think we are lucky that we have photography as our common thread, and photography is such an amazingly rich source of learning, whether it's the street smart learning, whether it is at a spiritual level, across the spectrum. You learn so much through this genre, through this craft or art, or whatever you want to call it. And so going beyond, I also dabbled in between with with commercial photography. So I tried advertising photography. I was working for ad agencies and shooting campaigns for Airtel, or there was a cell phone company called Escotel that was coming in but didn't come in later. There was Coke and other products that I was shooting for. So that also started, but I didn't quite enjoy it. And more importantly, I was not getting paid in time as a freelancer, and that was really beginning to bother me. And then luckily, I got a job at the Associated Press, where I spent very good 10 years of really solid work. I was in Delhi, and being that advantage is that whenever something big happens in the subcontinent, you are always the go-to people. So like there were just 2 or 3 of us who would always be sent for the major assignments, whether it was in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, this thing, Afghanistan. Especially, I went at least 6, 7 times. I went to Afghanistan. So it was amazing, to be able to experience so much of what can be called the human experience, and across such a varied landscape now. And while I say all this, at really at the bottom of my heart, what I was always wanting to do was to shoot the Himalayan landscape. So while I was doing all of this, I was still packing my bags on my long treks to the remote Indian Himalayas, especially the snowbound Himalayas. I trained as a mountaineer for that purpose, to be able to do that properly. Going into snow and rocky areas is can be dangerous, and God has been kind. I've never had even a single scratch of a bigger nature that can impede my work. And for me, that has been very, very gratifying, to be able to shoot the Himalayan landscape deep in the remote Indian Himalayas. So, even if it means like there's one location where we have a sadhu Babaji who stays there. He's a good friend of ours. We call him Babaji because he's a sadhu. He's amongst a few sadhus who lives in the Himalayas really. The others are mainly sitting in the plains and making money. So he's a true sadhu. He actually lives in a cave, and I go to him like every time I can. So like in like the last 10 years odd, I would have gone 5-6 times to him. Not 10 years, 15 years window. I would have gone 5-6 times to him. So in that, but what I do is when I reach him with his blessings, I go further up and I go into the snowbound areas, which are like 14, 15,000 feet high. And my mountaineering course also was in the same region. So the mountaineering course is called NOLS, NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership School. So it's an American course, and the students were mainly university students. And I, to be honest, at that time was 37. I'm 55 now, and I'm still yearning to go again to the Indian Himalayas. But at the age of 37, when all my peers were 22 odd, I was doing the course of a very hard nature. We spent 25 days in snow and climbed up to like nearly 20,000 feet, and that whole experience was so rewarding. But more importantly, it gave me the access to these remote parts of the Indian Himalayas when the average person doesn't or can't go, and being able to see that through my camera again is, I would say, like, I consider myself truly blessed that I have that opportunity, the means, and the physical strength to be able to go and do that. So I would say life has been kind, God has been kind, that one has been able to do all of this kind of work. Some of it is on my website. Like I said, it had crashed, and not crashed, it had got the server got swapped to a different host, and my work, I thought I had saved it, but I hadn't. So I'm rebuilding it. Some of it is there. That's what I'm going to show you now through for my presentation also, and talk more about the images that as we go through. And just to continue my professional story, in 2012 I joined the Hindustan Times. I was heading the photo team there. We did some very interesting work there too. It was a changing time for Hindustan Times. Were getting deeper into what's called the digital newsroom, and the whole sort of the changeover, the makeover or change from being a newsroom that was heavy on paper to making it completely technology savvy and digital, and getting all the systems aligned workflow wise. I mean, I don't want to bore you with the details, but what was exciting about it was that I was part of that transition from what can be called the old world newsroom to the modern, really suave digital newsroom. And the same happened when I reached PTI. I joined in 2017. It's been 6 years with PTI now. And PTI also was wanting change, and the right kind of people, I would say, also gathered there as part of the leadership team. And many interesting changes are happening here, including video service having been launched about 2-3 months back now with PTI. So that, I mean, I really feel it blessed that I've been part of these transition journeys of some of the leading news organizations in India also. So it's been very educative, of course. It's been amazing because you've been part of that whole restructuring, that part of that whole back end, which the average person doesn't get to know. But it's a lot of interesting work. The sad part is that as a team leader, you get lesser time with your camera. So I squeeze my photography when I can, especially through sports assignments, because there you are forced to go away away from your office space and into a workplace where you have to really, really work hard. So there's no time for anything else, no meetings, no nothing else. So yeah, that's how it has been till now.
Thank you, Gurinder. Somebody has raised a hand. Nizar Bruselli, do you have a question? Nizar?
Yeah, yes, madam.
Yeah, do you have a question? You raised your hand.
Must be by accident.
Nizar, do you have a question or is it by accident? Okay, maybe it's by accident. No, not an issue. Okay, so for the benefit of the some of you have just joined in, Gurinder has just given us a very short and a quick kind of background about his life story, his journey in photography, his career, how he's moved places, and how different experiences have enriched and enhanced his understanding of photography. And now Gurinder will share his work with us, and through his work we will see how he's telling stories through his photographs. And after he shared, you are welcome to ask your questions. You can maybe put your question on the chat, and then when I will be moderating the session so that he can have his flow of presentation,
Hello, madam.
and
No,
then
no
somewhere
questions,
wherever
madam.
the moment is right, I would ask you to ask your question. You could unmute yourself and ask it yourself, and it's also good to put it on the chat because other people can also read your question. Some people have low bandwidth, and they can't hear the audio. So for them, if it's on the chat, the question's very clear, and then you can see Gurinder as well. Gurinder, there's one little issue that when you're moving, sometimes your video is getting blurred. So you'll have to
Okay.
you'll have to keep at this distance is fine. But if you go
No,
closer,
what?
the
Yeah,
video
yeah.
is splitting up. Yeah.
Cool. What I'll do is I'll in any case share my screen.
Yeah, so now
So
anyway, you'll be
I'll be
sharing
able
the
to pick
screen. Yeah, great. Not at all.
up.
No problems. So, so Gurinder continues, and now we will see his body of work, which he'll share with us. And through that work, maybe some questions will be raised, and we'll reflect on certain aspects about storytelling, photography, art, and ethics. Yeah, Gurinder, please continue.
I'm not being able to get my video with this sharing screen thing. I don't know. It was happening earlier.
The, there's an arrow, the fifth icon called present now,
No,
on
but
the
I
left hand
was
side of the
there
hand.
earlier. It was there earlier, but now somehow it's giving me trouble. Let me try. I'm continuing to try. It's not allowing me anything. On my video icon, there was this band that comes at the base. That's absent now. Have you
It's a
removed my admin rights?
no. You're the fifth icon with the arrow, Gurinder.
No,
It's
I'm
next
on
to
my
the
mobile,
smiley,
so
next to the emoji, next on the left of the hand. You are the co-host. You are the co-host.
maybe I'll log in again. Yeah, should I do that? I'll just jump out and log in again.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay. Okay,
It was
Gurinder. Yeah.
happening earlier. It's not
Okay.
happening
Just
for
try
some
again.
reason.
Yeah. Just do that again.
I mean, it's not even allowing me to get my video off. So
Uh,
I'll just step out and I guess. Sorry about this. I'll just come back
no,
again.
no problems. No issues. So we just yeah, so Gurinder's just logging out and coming back, and we'll continue. He's on his way to Camera Museum in Gurugram in Delhi, where there's another event happening for World Photography Day. He's on the way and he stopped for this session. And I'm happy that he can be with us today because, being a photojournalist and in the heart of PTI in Delhi, it's a very heavy, kind of routine for him. So we just, I think Gurinder's joining back. Gurinder, are you back? Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, I think I'm back now.
And
I have. Am I audible?
you're very much audible, Gurinder. Try sharing the screen now.
Radhika, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Gurinder. You are audible. You're clear and you're audible. I can hear you.
Am I audible?
You're audible, Gurinder. And you can share. You have you shared? Because you have the right to share the screen. You can share your screen. I just checked in the settings. Desikan sir, are you here? While Desikan sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, Desikan sir. So I'm saying while Gurinder is trying to get his presentation worked out, I don't know what are the issues
Fine.
at his end. Would you like to say something, sir? Oh, Gurinder is presenting. I think he's managing. Let's
Okay.
see.
No, I'm trying. I'm still trying.
You're sharing
I
your
hope
screen, but
it all
this is
goes well.
your Google Meet screen.
I am.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I'm getting my website on.
Uh, yeah, we can see your website. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it's
cool,
working
cool,
now,
cool.
Gurinder.
Then we are good. So I'll go straight to my editorial work.
Yeah,
It's visible.
it is. It is.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll start then. I've listed a couple of stories here. So maybe I'll start. What do you think I should start with? I have, as of now, I have my work on the Indian-Pakistan border. I have the aftermath of the Kashmir earthquake. I have the Olympics. These are some features from Bhutan. This is the tsunami. I think this is the strongest package that I have. Should I start with
Yeah,
this
please start
since
with
we don't have
tsunami.
so
I
much
think it
time?
would be good to start with tsunami, covering
Yeah,
disasters and calamities.
yeah, yeah, and it will cover the aspect of ethics also as we speak. So this one has some disturbing visuals. So some of them are graphically strong. So advised to be. So people who are sensitive about it, is there. But the story, the nature of the story was so graphic by itself. Like for example, this image that we are seeing now on our screen is of a pit that was created for the mass cremation. So the people, I'm sure everybody knows about the tsunami. It was a tidal wave that was created after an earthquake that happened far away in Banda Aceh in Indonesia. But that whole wave went across the world and even touched and killed people in Somalia, like on that eastern coast also of Africa. So more than 1.5 lakh people died. So when you have a tragedy of this scale, then the sort of the the sensitivity that we normally have about not showing dead bodies kind of disappears, because there are so many dead, and we can't ignore that part. The story demands that we we the people who are sitting thankfully or whatever away from the tragedy acknowledge and realize the pain of those who have been through this kind of very strong moment of disaster, and how it has impacted their lives. And what I mean to say is we need to see it. We need to witness the other people's tragic moment also. I had my own issues while I was covering this, and I'll come to that a little later. But this was my second first. I mean, I reached Chennai on the night of the tsunami hitting. It hit the Chennai coast on in the morning around 10 o'clock, and I took the 2 o'clock flight, which didn't work out. But then I went for the 5 o'clock flight, reached Chennai, and the next morning we were. This is in Cuddalore, which is south of Chennai, and what we're seeing is the whole village gathered to grieve people who had died, which included children here also. And the thing about this place was that seeing that scale of grief, even though I'm carrying my two cameras and I am a professional, so to speak, who has witnessed a lot, you can't, you become part of that grieving crowd. And I say that because if you are not part of the grieving crowd, you better not be there. If you are there only to get, images that may win you an award later, I think then as a photojournalist, you are being disrespectful to the medium, and more importantly, you're being disrespectful to the subject. So I'm saying that here is a moment of grief that it's very strong for the people whom it has affected. So this one will run better vertically. I'm going to twist my screen. I hope it doesn't twist your screens around too much. Uh, or should I present it like this? Ratika ma'am, what is better?
This is
This or
better. Even though it's
fine.
smaller, but we can see the entire picture, the entire photograph
Right.
in one
Sorry.
go. Yeah.
Then I'll carry on with this format itself. So, here it's a situation where a child from the family had died and there is grief. I deliberately chose a telephoto-ish lens to get the sea in the background. the sea that in a way is the, so to speak, culprit of this whole tragedy, and how this 9-year-old boy was washed ashore and found the next morning. These images are very, very strong in nature, so for people who don't know about it, apologies, but I think they need to be seen. Now, why I bring up this first picture is that there is this pit that is housing so many dead. It's like a mass grave, and everybody is speaking Tamil. Nobody knows. I mean, I don't know Tamil, and there's nobody who knows English either. So I'm not being able to communicate with anybody. But like I said, I'm also in a way grieving this, and that grief that I have is showing in my eyes when I'm shooting that subject, which is so strong and so heart-wrenching in nature. And I didn't thought of inside that pit. Why? Because I wanted to shoot that scale of death and that whole village as a, as a key coming together to share their grief. In a way, I mean, the dead are gone, but it's the people who are left behind that matters. And in this case, at least they were kind of together and sharing their grief. So when I was entering this pit, I was a little guilty, because there are layers of dead bodies under this. Even under this, there are many layers of dead bodies. So I don't know whom I'm stepping on. And I looked at the people who were bringing the bodies in, and I kind of gestured that, may I? And with my eyes, like I said, I don't know the language. And nobody said no. And I slowly, very, very slowly, stepped down, took one frame, practically like, one means like at the most 5 frames for that one shot, and immediately stepped out. Meaning to say that I had been given the access, there was a image that I needed. If I have got it, then let me not, extend the welcome or extend the stay too long and get out. Do your job as a professional and get out to now not become disrespectful to what you are shooting or what is like, your stronger subject. Why I'm saying all this is that if that thought is not there in your head, or it's not there in your eyes, or it's not there in your heart, then it'll show. It'll show to the people in front of you. It'll show in your images also. Your images may not have that. If I don't know whether you've dabbled with this thing of the subjectivity or the being able to get deeper into that subject of being able to feel the people's pain, to be able to yet render it in a photograph that is two-dimensional in nature. It doesn't have the sound of the people grieving there now. It doesn't have the three-dimensionality of the space that we are part of, and yet it doesn't have the smell, if I can say that. Yet it has to communicate to a person, whether it's in Delhi or whether it is in Peru or whether it is in Antarctica. They should be able to feel that same pathos or grief that as a witness I'm experiencing there. Here I have a camera, and that means I can document this work with. So that's what I use, and I do what I can do best. And but like I said, get out as soon as your work is done. Do not prolong your stay or do not overstay your welcome. So thing is that this the tragedy is so strong because if you take one bucket of water, that's approximately 20 liters of water, and that's 20 kilos of water. Now imagine a whole sea coming at you. So there's only one situation where I could actually speak to this person who was a mother. Her 9-year-old daughter had been affected by the tsunami, and but they speak English, so I was able to. I was shooting on the beach, not the immediate day, but a few days later, about a week into the assignment, and she came to me and started. I didn't shoot her as a subject, but I was shooting her in general, and I she came to me and started just sharing her tragedy. She just went on to say that how the that when the wave came, she was holding on to her daughter, and she held her daughter with all her strength, but it did not. Her strength didn't last long enough, and her daughter got swept away by the waves. And she said, I saw my daughter dying in front of my eyes, kind of swept away by the sea, and she never found her again. So, as I'm hearing her tell her tale, and this is the first time somebody spoke to me in English. So, this is the first time I'm hearing their thoughts. I mean, I can see it in their eyes, but I'm not, for the first time, I'm listening to them in actual words. And it was, literally, I swear on God, my knees turned jelly when that happened. So, it was such a strong emotion for a mother to see not being able to save her daughter. But what I'm saying is that the wave, that it was so strong. Like I said, 20 kilos is one bucket of water. Now imagine a whole sea when it comes, what it does, and nobody has a chance against it. So it's just the tragedy of the scale of the tragedy is so high and so uh, complete in its devastation. This I shot in Wellington, where also people who were collected there for Christmas and had gone to the Wellington church, or the people who had gathered there had gone to the beach the following morning, which is 26th of December, and many people died, like hundreds people who had gathered there, devotees, etc., died. So 1 week later, there was a kind of a mass for them. And why I take up this picture is I've shot this with a telephoto lens for those who are technically there. Uh, it's deliberate. It's when I'm shooting with a telephoto, I'm giving my subject that space and yet getting my image. And but what I have to be mindful of is what I'm including in my background. Now, by including those arches, it immediately leaves no doubt that this is a church. And telling this, I've not named the person who was doing it. There was another person who had just arrived that day uh, as a photojournalist from a wire agency only. And that person was standing. I was on the floor shooting this picture, and he just came. He had a wide angle lens on. He didn't think. He didn't do whatever. He just took on his wide angle means that you have to get close to a subject to get some magnification. So it was literally like 1 foot away from a weeping person and shooting her in that mass. And I'm looking at him and saying, you've just arrived. You have no right to be, invading that person's moment of personal grief. So I thought it was very disrespectful, and I also lost respect for that person ever since. So what I'm saying is how we conduct ourselves in these situations shows who we are as a person, as a character, as a personality. It also shows how much we care about people around us, how much what is our quotient of empathy. And if we don't have compassion and empathy, then I don't think we should be photojournalists, because till we feel our subject's pain, till we are with them in whatever their moment may be, we are, whether it's happy or sad, till we are not rejoicing with them, till we are not grieving with them, then we don't have a right to shoot them also. You have to be in that same emotional space to be able to document it with accuracy, with fidelity, with truthfulness. So no, so it's what I'm saying is it's when you see the images, they seem, oh, nice picture, but what I'm saying is there's a lot that is going on behind it, and a lot of it is to do with your own self, not minus the camera also. It's to do with who you are as a person inside that begins to matter. So here it's from a chopper, the top shot. It's of the Nagapattinam fishing port. This is when relief started coming in. These drawings are done by children who were orphaned, and because they couldn't express it any other way, the psychologists who had come from Chennai University, they were helping them draw so that they can get their emotions out. And if you see the details, there are images of pots and pans floating, cars and houses submerged. So the children were getting out their feelings through drawings because they didn't know how else to express. I'll go back to another instance where, and I'll narrate the story behind it. I saw this image printed on a black and white poster, and I could make out the font, so it was a Dina Malar newspaper. And I had a person who kind of tagged along with me. He had some knowledge of English. He had stayed in Dubai and he knew some English, so he became my de facto translator, and I used to pay him a bit of money also for the day. And I asked him what's written there in that, because what had happened till then was that I was feeling like, what am I doing? I'm here with my camera taking these images, which are, yes, very strong and very graphic in nature, but what is my actual contribution? I'm just kind of, am I being a vulture? Am I being a voyeur here? Am I kind of taking advantage of other people's misery, and getting my pretty images or getting my photojournalistic moments and getting my photojournalistic high. So is that my real purpose here? Shouldn't I rather be at the railway station picking up maybe a sack of grain with, or maybe going and counseling some people who are aggrieved? So I was full of self-doubt, basically, that I, what should be my real purpose in a situation where you're seeing such a large scale of death all around you and people grieving and affected. So then, when I saw this image on that poster, I asked my translator that what is written there in the Tamil script. So he says, "Oh, that's asking for relief." And then suddenly, my moment of understanding or truth came, that my images are going across the entire world through AP. Thankfully, I was with the Associated Press at that time, and because of that, the scale of the tragedy and the sort of the how badly off the people are who are impacted by this is reaching so many more places through this method of communication that I've been blessed with. I'm shooting images; they are through the newswire service of the Associated Press, reaching every corner of the world practically, and people are reacting. you know there are people sending money, there are people sending truckloads of relief material. And then I'm realizing, after that, when I saw that poster, that my images are becoming part of that aspect which nobody else can do. As a photographer, as a camera person, I am there, and not everybody there has that skill or art to be able to tell that tragedy in the way I can. So this is my job. This is where I come in useful to the people around me who are affected. So then my guilt was gone, my purpose was clear, and I was focused on what my next day should be like. And I was so relieved, I would say, because I was not feeling useless in that very strong moment of grief for so many people. So carrying on, then slowly the story turned into how it became an effort of relief and recovery. How the fishermen eventually, this is the first time they were taking their catamaran out into the sea after the tsunami happened. And for me, this is a very kind of picture of hope, because in all that trash that was lying in the debris, one old woman came, I think she was a beggar. She picked up this portrait of Jesus, or is it Mary? Yeah, it is Jesus. And she kind of cleaned it, and in a way, life carries on. So for me, this gave me hope that that those who I mean, any negative situation is there to teach you, and the point is that you have to learn and not kind of get carry on with life without understanding the lessons that life presented you through a negative or a positive situation. I'll show one more package on the same subject, which is I'm going to turn my screen horizontal now. I hope it doesn't mess with people's
Just
way
one
of
second,
seeing.
Gurinder. Sarvesh, do you have a question?
Yeah,
Sarvesh? Sarvesh, you've raised your hand. Do you have a question regarding what Gurinder presented? Maybe it is an accident. Yeah. No, it's okay. Gurinder, please continue.
understood it. Yeah. So and everybody who has, I mean, my website is gurunderosan.com. It is this what I'm showing right now is best seen on a desktop screen, but I'll still show it to you guys, even though I'm on my mobile. So this is the location on the day around the time of the tsunami. So you can see the scale of devastation, etc., that had happened. And I visited the same story 10 years later. At that time, I was with the Hindustan Times. And so 10 years later, I went to the same spot at the same time of the day using the same lens, because that was available. Information was there on the camera details in the image. So I placed myself in the same spot and tried to take the same place and how it had changed in 10 years. So again, like I said, life goes on. And in this case, it had turned in a positive way for the people of the fishing community there. So here again, this is again, this is, I think this is Nagapattinam again. The scale of tragedy for that fishing village is extreme, and how this place had transformed later. They had built an embankment wall at the back so that, God forbid, if the tsunami comes or a stronger wave comes, they are kind of protected. So please visit this page. I think it's interesting to see how the transition has happened from what it was 10 years ago to what it became later. This bridge was not redone. The bridge at the back is what was being constructed at that time. So this is how it is. This is that new bridge I was mentioning. At that time, it was under construction. Then 10 years later, this happened. So again, why am I showing this? Is that this is another way of telling the story. How the place has transformed over the years. It was interesting that this person had maintained the same pink walls, sorry, in the in that building. So, anyways, I'll leave it for you to see this later, and I'll rotate my screen back to vertical now, and I'll show you one more story since it has come here. Here is a story. I've been to Afghanistan for the Associated Press again at least 6-7 times. I've lost count. And like my first assignment, I spent 6 weeks there, and I stayed in Bagram, which is the U.S. Army, U.S. Military base, and there was an Air Force station there also. And a lot of the missions, as they call it, as they called it, used to happen from there. So Bagram, I was part of the what's called the you become attached as a media person, and you stay almost like a soldier there. So and whenever they have a mission that they feel they should get the press to come along with them, they used to take us along and used to go and shoot. So I didn't sadly or otherwise see any strong action in Afghanistan at least, but I did go for civil missions where there were reasonably high degree of tensions and high degree of threat that was there. Because it was a very strange place. Children would come up to the soldiers in their Humvees, and as they are speaking to them, asking for toffees and dollar, they would pop a open grenade into the Humvee and run away, and people would die. Or there would be a IED on the route, and the convoy would just get blown up. I mean, I have colleagues who have seen it personally and shot it. I have colleagues who have died from that also. Danish Siddiqui died about a year ago when he was caught in a crossfire in Taliban affected areas in a year, no, year and a half back. I think when the Taliban took over, he was in Afghanistan at that time and he died from that crossfire. He was heading Reuters India at that time and one of the best photographers ever. So it was a sad loss. But here I'm sharing a story of a family. This woman had stayed in Pakistan, so she knew a bit of Urdu, and hence she could speak to me in the language. This is on the outskirts of Kabul. When you go to Kabul, you at least now, because when I talk to people about the older Kabul, it seems very nice and rich. Kabul is, a desolate place with broken buildings and multiple wars showing on every street corner, and also the people. There is so much poverty here now. There is so much loss of. There's no hope. Basically, it's a very very sad place to me. And whenever I was with, like I said, I was shooting for the army or with the army. That didn't excite me. What I wanted to shoot, whenever every time I got an opportunity, I would do that. I would step out of the base and try and shoot on the street, and or go and meet the people and try and shoot the people. Once I was not even admitted back into the Bagram Airways because they said that they didn't know who I was. The military police stopped me and they detained me for 1 hour, not knowing that I'm associated with the media and I'm staying on the Bagram Airways. But anyways, that aside, what I meant to say is that what I wanted to do was actually go out and see the real Afghanistan, which is not the invading NATO American forces, but the people on the ground and how they are leading their lives. And this lady was staying in a kind of a cluster of houses which was inside a broken building of sorts, and she had a son who was mentally challenged. She had two daughters also, so there were three children that she was looking after. She didn't have a husband, and if you looked at her and where she stayed and the people around her, it was nothing but complete poverty that you could see around there. Go through these pictures on your screens later, but I will tell you the part that I want to share most. So I had gone there, and my colleague, he's with Associated Press still, Rafiq Makbul. Rafiq Makbul is in Mumbai right now, and so we went there. We shot a few pictures, and I said, Rafiq, we have to come back here. So the next day we uh, bought some wheat. I didn't want to give cash, so we bought a whole sack of that big jute sack of wheat, and we took it back to this cluster and told Shapira that this is what we are wanting to do. If it's okay by her, she said fine, and nobody kind of jumped and grabbed what I had brought as a kind of a simple thing that I could share, which is just simple edible wheat flour, and all the people, rightly all the women there, mainly women because there were hardly any men, they all stood around in a line, and each of them came with their bags, and we very gently, equally tried to share the entire wheat flour that we had gotten up with all of them. And Shapira was so graceful. They were all very, very poor, but nobody said, okay, because Shapira knows me, she'll get more. She just took what everybody else took. So, there was so much grace despite their poverty. And it was for us, I think, even for Rafiq, it was a very touching moment to be able to do that and to be able to be there to, sort of experience that, that grace despite all the poverty. So, what I'm saying is that journalistic situations like these can give you a very different experience of life also, which you will not find in a normal discourse. So in a way, there are opportunities that photojournalism gives us that are so strong in nature and so sort of teach you so much about life, more than the skill and the art. I think what they teach you is how to be a better human being, and what are the experiences of life that are important, so that clarity or that way of thinking changes when you experience the the world around you, and in this case through the lens. Here are some more images. I'm calling it. It's called the Afghanistan is called the graveyard of the empires because nobody's been able to conquer Afghanistan. But I think it is a graveyard of an empire because it is in such a shamble now. So again, like I said, I like to shoot the life on the street. I love to shoot children because children are lovely. And here is also a school. Sadly, girls can't go to school anymore in this Taliban ruled condition. But these are from a school that I had visited. Some pictures, there are some later. So again, children are employed, and because there is so much poverty, nobody even thinks of child rights of the kind that the way we would think in India. It's normal for a child to be working. Yet there is ice cream. Yet there is this can of Coke that one of the U.S. military chaps had given these boys. They do or did at least go to school, even if it is through a graveyard. And like I said, every street corner is lined with devastation, even now. So this family was staying in this very broken down kind of a palatial place, but broken down completely. And I'm sure the royalty is to live here, and now it's just a building in shambles where this very, very poor family used to stay. So again, like I said, these are strong experiences that you will not gain otherwise uh, in a normal course of a situation. I would love to share my Olympics work. Again, I don't know how much time we have, Radhika. If you
Gurinder, we
please
can
guide
go.
us.
I think it'll be nice because, but before we carry on, two people raised hands, one Shreyanshi and
Yeah,
Himanshu. Do you have a
yeah.
question to ask, Gurinder? Shreyanshi?
Yes, ma'am. I have sent a question in chat box.
Yeah, but Shreyanshi already answered your question if you were listening to him carefully. You asked that is it rude, to take a picture, right? I read your question, right? But
Yes, ma'am.
Gurinder has already
I don't
answered the
mind.
question.
No, I don't mind dabbling on that a little more. world, because I think it's an important aspect of our work. So, the thing is that when we have a camera in our hand, we think that we have like God's gift to humanity. We can do what we want because people have given us access, and or we think that people have given us access to just intrude and shoot pictures, but it is not so. And I wish I had the story right now, but I don't have it. This is an example where I had gone to shoot a newborn baby that was born with two faces, and this was in Greater Noida, which is on extreme outskirts of Delhi NCR. And when we reached there, the family flatly refused that no pictures. So we said, "Are how come? Like we are again, like you said, you believe that the camera gives you right to get inside people's private spaces and shoot whatever you want to, but no, this guy said no, nothing doing, you're not getting in, you're not seeing that child." So I felt a little off, meaning more than me, the person who had arranged this meeting, the local villager, he got very offended and he took that man aside and said, you're not saying no to this photojournalist here, you're saying no to me, and I'm from this village, so how dare you say no to me? So anyways, that man agreed. He said, okay, only a few pictures, and he said a number. I think it was 4 pictures, only 4 pictures, because the reason being that he had actually committed to a TV channel. I think it was Discovery, that they would come and shoot this child with the two faces and make a documentary out of it, and they would also fund the child's operation later. So they would be making money. The Discovery chaps must be making their money, but they're also at least helping them in the medical expenses and all, which was a good thing. I didn't know at that time. We realized it only later. But what I'm coming to is that guy said a flat no. The village person who had taken us to this house said that you better give them permission, because you're not saying no to them, you're saying no to me. But then later I took that man aside. I said, look man, this is I know this is not a nice situation for you also. You have a child that has kind of has a deformity of sorts or a defect of sorts, as a birth defect. But believe you me, I am not here to gain even one paisa extra from what I'm doing. I'm a salaried person. I'm a staffer with the AP. I What I shoot is for not for any commercial interest at all. So don't get me wrong. I'm only here to do my job. And if you say no, it's no. I have no right to sort of force you into giving me access to the inside of your house, into your private space. So he listened to me. He realized that I was being genuine. So what I'm saying is how you conduct yourself. He realized that I was being genuine, and I'm not being greedy. I'm not being opportunistic. I'm not being rude. I'm not taking the my being a photojournalist and hence having the access part taken for granted. I'm not playing any power politics here. That I'm a relatively richer person with a heavy camera on me, and I represent a major news organization. I'm not putting any of that weight into that situation. I'm only saying as a like almost almost not begging, but almost equivalent to a begging scenario, that I'm here to do my job, and if you say no, it's a no. But if you say yes, that will be great, and I'll be out in like 4 pictures. So eventually he did say yes. I did enter his house. I fired the first frame, and I said, oh, I'm just testing my flash. So I got one frame. I shot two more. Then I said, can I have one without you and just the mother and the child? So I got picture number 5. And then later outside, some people had come, because when you have a child with two faces, they believe it is the avatar of goddess herself. So they were coming to touch the child's feet and all that. So they had got the baby out again. So I got my 6th picture. So eventually I had 6 reasonable pictures that I could use for my story. And so again, like I said, I'm doing my job, and I'm trying to be as honest in my approach and my storytelling, in my explaining to that person who's the father of the newborn baby. I'm being completely transparent, is what I'm saying. And that honesty eventually showed in my images, I guess. It showed in my interaction with that man. And those pictures went out, and of course, AP is worldwide. So I got a call from Peru, from a radio station there, who wanted the presenter there wanted to ask me a little more detail about the baby, about the child, and the whole shooting of that thing. So, and I shared it with them also. So what I'm saying is that how you can reach out to the whole world through your image, if you're doing it with the right intent. And that's what the word that I wanted to, thanks to your question, I wanted to get to. If your intent is right, if your purpose is higher than you, then it'll work out. Your situation will work out. You will have the access, you will have the images that you want, you will somehow, things will just work out. But if your intent is not, if your intent is, I would say, lowly, if your intent is greedy, or if your intent is, to be opportunistic or to take advantage, then you will have that kind of picture. It may not be the kind of picture that is the best, I would say, or is the most empathetic, or which will strike the strongest chord to the viewer of the image later on. So I'm just saying that you need to get a lot of things right in your approach, in your attitude, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your action, in your movements, and then raise the camera, and then think of the frame, and then think of at what moment you should start shooting and at what moment you should stop shooting, and how you kind of, so there's a whole process, and that process has to be understood. It's not that 1/25th of a second and it's over. No, there's a whole game before and after that you need to understand, and and it comes with experience, of course. The more you do it, the better you'll get. But what I'm saying is, keep in mind these bullet points every time you're stepping out, that you have no right to be doing and getting into people's zone unless you have their permission. I'll give you one more example. I was heading to Lahore Valley in 1988, I think 89. So I was in third year college at that time, and I was heading to the Lahore Valley. And that time, this is in Manali, and at that time Lahore Valley was fairly remote, and only a bus would get you across. And I'm sitting in the bus, and there was a gap in between, and there was another bus on the other side. And I was like I said, I was third year college, so I was fairly young. And there was this very, very beautiful woman from Lahore Valley, a tribal Lahori, sitting inside. And I was looking at her in a very respectful yet admiring way. And she realized that I'm doing that. I smiled at her. She also smiled back at me in a very nice way. And then I picked up my camera to shoot. And she gestured no. And I kept my camera back. I did not shoot. So, that respect, or that uh, not forcing your way across is very, very important. You have to respect your subject. If you do not have that approach, then your subject will not speak to you. Your pictures will not speak to the rest of the world. I think it's a very critical part of what we do, and that's not just for photojournalism. I would say that is true for all the other genres of photography also. And so, carrying on, to finish it fast, Radhika ji, I think I should, because I think it's nearly 7 o'clock, past 7 already. I'll quickly share this work of the Tokyo Olympics coverage. I take a lot of pride in this work. The reason being, one is because it did well, and it did well because there was only, as a news photographer, I was the only person there from across India who was shooting the Olympics. So it was a time when COVID was around. The games had already been postponed by one whole year, and getting there itself was such a huge task. Like I said, that 1/25th, or in this case 1,000th of a second, is not what matters. It is the whole background that nobody knows. I've given a whole talk, and if you search it, it's there on my Instagram, in my reels also somewhere. Some people from this group called FO2.in, 42in, they had come and they had done an elaborate interview and had talked about this subject. I also did an article for Better Photography magazine, and if maybe I can share that with Radhika ma'am later, and she can share it with you people later. And it talks about not the shooting part, the whole back end of how difficult it was to even reach Tokyo. Because of COVID, there were so many restrictions, there were so many protocols to be taken care of, there were so many restrictions, processes required. Getting the visa was a pain. Once you got there, you had to register yourself minimum 1 day in advance by 4 p.m. for the next day's event, if you want to get access to the stadium, because they were trying to curtail the number of people who enter the stadium. So there were too many constraints, is what I'm saying. And what seems like, oh, nice picture, I wish I was there. Thing is that getting there itself was not an easy task. Now, even this picture of Neeraj Chopra, for example, this is a huge stadium. Just to get inside the stadium from where I'm staying, which is 1 hour from the media center, then another 45 minutes to the stadium. And once you get down from on the outside of the stadium, there is another 20-30 minutes walk to the spot where, after all the checks and all that, to reach the place where you want to stand, which means that you have to start at least 3 hours in advance to get that one frame. And that's only one frame, or one kind of a sign, one kind of scene, one kind of scenario. So like that, it was for all pictures that you're seeing that in this display here. This is Neeraj Chopra, of course. This happened. I shot him on 2 occasions. This is the top one is when he knew that he's winning during the gold moment, and this is when he was qualifying. He just did one throw, and he was done. He was when his first throw or his first attempt was good enough to get him into the final. So he didn't do a second one. But why I'm sharing this picture right now is that this picture I had thought much ahead in my mind before I even reached the spot. It was a picture that I had planned in advance, and from what I know, because I was working there, I'm not completely clear, but I think the PM also tweeted this picture of Neeraj Chopra's when he qualified and eventually won gold also. This picture did go a lot viral at that time because Neeraj Chopra was the flavor of the day or flavor of the month at that time. And he even acknowledged me with a thank you note later for the pictures. But that was 1 year later, sadly. But this picture, what I'm saying is that I wanted to show the grandness of the moment. Here is an Indian athlete who's we all knew that Neeraj Chopra may do well. He is definitely a top contender for the bronze, silver, gold. Nobody knew that he would get gold. Everybody expecting silver from him because his competitor, I think this German called Weber, was extremely good. But Neeraj Chopra turned out to be the best. And but what I'm saying is that this picture was planned. I kept the wide angle in mind when I went to shoot it. I took my position at least 45 minutes before the event started, so I knew because I wanted that central location for that particular kind of picture, that particular kind of perspective. And when it happened, I was ready. This is on a wide angle. The minute this was over, I switched to my telephoto and shot the other pictures on the telephoto lens during the qualifying moment. But again, like I said, it was only one attempt. And later, when he won the gold, he had 5 attempts, and one did get ample opportunity to shoot the other pictures then. PV Sindhu is extremely graceful, both as a person and as a player. So, from what I know, she does meditation and yoga also, and is in a way very spiritually inclined person. What I observed about her was the way she was focused, and what is interesting about the way she does things is that when she wins a point, she always looks inwards. When she was losing a point, she would look at her coach. So what I'm saying is her moment of bliss, or you know, knowing that she has done it, was always pointed inwards, which is, I would say, for me at least, is a very kind of speaks volume about the kind of person she is. I like the detail of the hands with the Olympic rings made on her fingernails. And then some more. But I will go through these maybe on some other occasion. We don't have so much time here. You can definitely read that interview or listen to that interview. It's on my Instagram. And this athlete I have a lot of respect for. She's I'm forgetting her full name, Vanita Katyar. Katyar, anyways. Her second name is Katyar. Now she is from a so-called, so to speak, Dalit family. Her house is in Haridwar region in Uttarakhand, and she was doing very well. She had a hat trick. She had been an important player in the overall scoring scheme of things in the women's hockey qualification rounds and all that. And they eventually India went on to win bronze. And her house was attacked by some so-called Hindu right-wing people, and they called her family names. And basically, it was jealousy because how can a Dalit family, and in this case a Dalit woman, rise so much? But she knew about these issues even in Tokyo, and yet against all odds, she went on to perform so well. So when she was playing, I had a lot of my attention on her reacts. And here, as you can see, she's thanking God in a way, and it's all good. So what I'm saying is that this nuance or this the other aspect of the story may not immediately come when you look at the picture just as itself, but when you know the background story, or when it is used in context, the image, then it starts making a lot of sense. Anyways, there are moments of glory, there are moments of loss. Here it was nice. The English captain came up to our player and said, "It's okay. People win and lose. That's how the games are." But it's like that's how life is also. So what was interesting was that how the pressure on the athletes amidst all that COVID pressure, because it's also impacting their planning. A good athlete will want to peak at the time of the Olympics. You will train, and you will want to reach your crescendo or the highest level of fitness and performance at the time when you need it. In this case, in the Olympics schedule. So, but if the schedule is going haywire, if COVID is impacting how you train and how you kind of strategize your physical and mental performance, then it really impacts the players very badly. And I would say I was kind of doing a parallel on myself also, as a photojournalist also, how this entire COVID protocol had put so many restrictions on us physically, of course, but even more so mentally. And it was I would say that it was not everybody, I can dare say that not everybody, even if they wanted to, could have reached Tokyo and been able to perform in the way they were required to, because of the number of restrictions and number of how difficult it was to be able to work in that scenario. My colleague, for example, chose not to come because she was scared of getting infected by COVID, because people from across the world are coming to Tokyo for the Olympics, including from China and other countries. So she just didn't come. I'm just saying that it's you have to make that choice. I just knew that I had to go. What I learned during this game, this particular weightlifting match in which Mirabai Chanu won a silver medal, the first medal that India won in the Olympics at Tokyo. And the presenter there described how it is very, very important for the person who's lifting the weights to be extremely mentally focused. It's not about physical strength. It's about how focused you are mentally, and that helps you achieve your clean sort of routine of the weightlifting that is required in this kind of a sport where you're lifting nearly 3 times your body weight. So if the strength is what doesn't emphasize, but it is more of how you are mentally focused and balanced that helps you achieve the kind of result that helps you win a silver medal. This one she had a bad shot, Deepika, so she's kind of a little embarrassed about it. But again, this is just leaving the bow. And with current camera technology, where you're getting, in this case, I was using a Sony Alpha A1. It was shooting 20 frames per second, and but the point is, you can shoot 20 frames per second and hope that in one of the shots the arrow is there when it leaves the bow. There's no way of figuring out when it will leave. So what you have to do is not look at the bow. You have to look at the athlete's eyes. From the eye, you somehow you can intuitively know she's going to release it now, and that's when you start firing your 20 frames per second. If you do it too much earlier, by the time she releases the arrow, your camera would have either filled up the card, or your camera would be kind of buffered up with all the pictures, and it will not shoot the required picture. So it's very, very important to understand how the athlete is thinking, what is happening in their mind, to be able to predict at what moment that arrow is going to go out. So the challenge is how few pictures you take in that 20 frames per second that you have to be able to get that arrow. And I got it a couple of times, so I can probably say that I did manage it well. And it is not skill of being able to capture the arrow leaving, because that my camera is doing. It's shooting 20 frames per second. One of them will have the arrow leaving the bow. But it is more about how you can intuitively or intelligently guess from the athlete's movement, very gentle movements from the hands and the eyes, that now it's about to happen, and you start shooting at that time. And the same goes for when you shoot in cricket also. When you're looking at the batsman, the ball is coming at a very fast speed. It's 80 miles per hour or 130 kilometers per hour, whatever, 80 kilometers per hour. Some of the bowlers. So you can't see the ball really. You have to predict the ball's movement. And how do you predict it? You see it from the batsman's eyes. This is going to be a square cut, or this is going to be he's going to step forward and do a loft shot. You predict that not by looking at the ball, because you don't know. You're blinded because the ball is on the other end, and you're shooting on an extreme telephoto lens in cricket. So you're seeing only the batsman, or the, in this case, batsperson. No, sorry, batter. Politically correct is batter. You're seeing only the batter, and you hence predict the movement of the ball and hence the player from the batter's eyes. Again, so like I said, the eyes are a huge giveaway, and even if it is, though it is sports, that is playing a very huge role. This is kind of not intended, but her eyes have been checked after the match. The eyes play a huge role in telling the story or telling the what's going to happen next. Anyways, you can see these pictures again later. Here again, I think I should double on this one. This is Manu Bhaker. I hope I have her name right. Manu Bhaker. She wasn't doing well. She's supposed to be very good. In fact, later on in some other events, she's done extremely well. Won gold and all also. But here at the Olympics in Tokyo, she was just not getting it, and she was feeling so miserable about herself. So no, it's again, like I said, it's not a physical effort. It's more of a mental game, and there was so much pressure on her, and she was 19 at that time, to be able to go and achieve for her country. So what I'm saying is the athletes are going through so much when this is happening. Anyways, I think I should wrap up now. We can have more sessions later. I'll stop sharing. Stop. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Gurinder. Yeah.
I hope I wasn't. I was hoping I'm not talking to people in oblivion. I hope there were
No,
people there when I was speaking.
it would have been nicer even to see you, but I think it's good because everybody was focused on seeing the photographs. It depends. I mean, I enjoyed listening to you as always. So, but I don't know how others took it. But
There's not much to see.
yeah. But so, Pam, do you have a question here? You have raised your hand.
Hello, ma'am. My name is
Yeah.
Anasthi. I'm the daughter of Murli Rao. And so I had a question for you. I see a lot of
Yep.
strong emotion in your artwork, and yet I see a hint of subtlety in it. How is it that you're able to portray such polarities in one shot?
Okay. I'll quote one line that I had learned recently. It says, "Be careful of your thoughts. Be careful of your thoughts because they will become your words. Be careful of your words." Am I audible? Yeah. I'll
Yes, sir.
repeat. I said, "Be careful of your thoughts because they will become your." Sorry. Be careful of your. Yeah. Sorry. Be careful of your thoughts because they will become your words. Be careful of your words because they will become your action. Be careful of your actions because they will become your habit, and be careful of your habit because it'll become your nature. Something like that. You can Google it, it's there. But what I'm trying to say is that how you are here inside you is what's going to translate in your actions later, and including the act of photography. And depending on who or what kind of person you are, you will react to that situation in your way. So like in a if you have 10 photographers standing in and shooting the same subject, each one will have their own take, and that will depend on who they are inside. How what is their reading of that scene will depend on how they understand life, what has been their life history, and what has been their experiences, what has been their thinking, what has been their strong and weak moments in life, what has impacted them as a child or otherwise. And so who you are inside is going to dictate uh, how you shoot that frame, at what moment, how you, like you said, you're on capturing polarities. I enjoy doing that. I like chaos in my pictures. I like a lot of emotion in my pictures. I like that is life, the yin and yang, if you want to call it. There are the duality of life is always there. So you need to read it, understand it, respect it, and also be able to transcribe it in your visual.
Thank you, Gurinder. That was beautiful.
Thank
Is
you,
some
sir.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. That is a lovely question. Anybody else has a question? Just unmute yourself, please. I think there was Himanshu and one more person. Uh, if you have a question, please unmute and ask.
Sir, good evening, sir. Myself, Kamal. Sir, it's nice to hear from you and learn from you. And I have two questions to you, sir. Sir, one is you are doing assignments, so you will be prepared. So, but what happens in normal days as a photojournalist? What are aspects we need to be prepared? See, as and when something happens in front of you. Uh, so that is my one question. And
Yeah.
second question, you are mentioning about compassion and empathy towards this subject. So did you learn that? Did you
No.
learn that,
Uh,
or you had realization? These are
no.
my questions.
Okay. So first one is that how prepared you are even for a surprise, right? Now the thing is that, like, okay, I'll give you one example. There was on TV, there was reports happening that there have been some bomb explosions in a certain part of Delhi, Karolbagh area, and we said, and the TV reporter, the TV anchor was saying it could possibly be a cylinder blast or it could be a terror attack. And we were in our office, that was at the AP only. We were saying, these guys, they always play it up, they always hype things up. There's been no terror attack. It's probably be a LPG cylinder blast only. And as we are saying this, our whole building shook because there was a blast right outside our building also. So this was, I think, 2007, if I'm getting the date right. And there were 5 blasts across uh, Delhi through IEDs, and many people were killed, of course. And one was right outside our office at Barakhamba Road in Delhi, central Delhi. And when this happened, we all ran out. Mustafa Qureshi was the first to run out. I was deliberately late. I'll tell you why. And I also rushed out with my equipment, shot it from a distance first. There was a huge blast, and there were people lying on the street, and there was damaged vehicles around, and all that. But we did reach the spot immediately after it had happened. Mustafa got some very nice pictures, I would say. I'll tell you why I reached late. I lost a very close friend of mine in Kashmir. I would say my dearest friend ever. His name was Pradeep Bhatia. He was in Srinagar in August 2010, and he was about to settle down for breakfast when he heard a blast outside near their hotel, and he rushed out. And having just come that day to Srinagar, that was his first day or morning there. He was very excited about the assignment, and he rushed into the site of the shooting, or site of the bomb blast, and started taking pictures. And as he, along with 12 more security personnel there. So my question, and to answer your thing, is that is this your last picture? So, like, we lost Pradeep. He was a wonderful human being. He was a brilliant photographer, but his lack of understanding, I would say. I mentioned tandem blast earlier that happened in Delhi in 1992. I had heard about the tandem blast. So, like I said, lightning can strike twice in the same spot. In this case, in this kind of a case, but Pradeep probably didn't understand or realize that, or didn't know about it, and he went in his innocence. I would say he got he, he died. So, uh, but the thing is that you can't plan these things. But what you can do is, there is this. You learn it in mountaineering. You learn it in other emergency scenarios. There is this ABC that you should follow. The A is for awareness of your subject, of the scene, of what are the potential threats in any scene, whether it's a landslide, whether it is a bomb blast, whether it is a flood, whether it is a riot, whether it is a war, anything. You need to be aware of your subject. And it can also be a simple nuanced portrait. You need to be aware of your subject. You have to have the understanding of what you're shooting. So that is very important. The A is for the awareness. The B is your backup. That means that if, God forbid, something negative happens, then what is your next? What do you do? So do you have a safety valve in place? Do you have an exit route? Do you have a situation that you can immediately go back to and be safe? What is important is not just to be able to shoot pictures, but it is important to come back in one piece always, and return home with a smile on your face. So I mean, if you keep this, like, no picture is worth dying. Keep that as your golden rule. No picture is like, if people who are taking selfies on sort of precarious situations and then slipping into their deaths. It's such a stupid way of doing what they are doing. It's is life, like, this gift of life should not be wasted because of your attempt to earn that so-called glory. In this case, a stupid selfie picture. But even in this bomb blast scenario, I didn't rush into it because Pradeep, the whole uh, all that we went through after Pradeep had gone, it was very, very difficult for all us friends. We were very, very, all of us were very, very close. But Mustafa didn't think twice. He rushed in with his wide angle. He was shooting a lot of pictures. He did get some very good pictures. This picture did get carried in the New York Times also. I would say I was taking safe pictures, but I did take pictures. And then after a point, I told Mustafa, I think we have enough pictures. Now what we are getting is stale compared to what we had 10, 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. So let's get out. Let's not linger here. Because again, keeping in mind that there can be another blast also. You never know in which recycling bin, the garbage bin, another bomb may be lying, or in maybe some auto or some scooter, another bomb is lying. You never know. People have ways of inventing IEDs. So that is one where it took us by surprise. I did approach my subject in a measured way. I was being careful, but maybe I did not get the strongest pictures, but I did get pictures. And eventually, more importantly, is that we all came out in one piece. So, and likewise, sometimes you are. My biggest nightmare is that I mean, actually have these dreams where I'm seeing a plane crashing or something like that, and I don't have my camera, or I'm seeing a huge UFO kind of a stealth ship that is coming our way, and I'm looking for my camera. So that is my biggest nightmare, not to be having my camera when I need it. So yes, I try and carry my camera everywhere I go, and be prepared for that surprise. But to get to the second part of again the process of how we react to a scene, there are two ways of handling any situation. You either act or you react. So what is the difference? I'll explain. By a reaction is something like, I something hits me and my hand goes kadech. That is a reaction. That is the immediate thing to happen. So another could be that, it has hit me. What is the best thing to do? Should I stay there? Should I think and then do what is to be done next? What is the best way forward? Instead of somebody, if I see something happening in front of my eyes, I pick up my camera. That is a reaction. And then I'm not thinking and doing anything. I'm just, because I know that I'll get something. Then I'm picking up and not even probably changing my lens, zoom or whatever. I'm just picking my camera up and reacting immediately to the situation. Okay, fine. For the first 5 seconds, that is allowed, that you have reacted immediately to the subject that happened in front of you, whatever it may be. Could be anything. Let me not get into that detail. Could be anything, but it's a moment that needs to be immediately shot. So you react to that situation. The minute you are done, or rather the first 5 seconds that you are done with that, then you have to think, okay, I have this picture, at least one safe picture in my pocket. What next? That's when you begin to act. Then you are making your deliberate choices. Then you are saying, okay, this is what has happened. This is the bigger story as I understand it. And now I'm going to shoot this particular picture with this kind of a lens from this particular perspective. So then you're making very careful choices. You're deliberate as a photographer. Then you're being mindful as a photographer. Then you understand the difference. So from being a reactive photographer, now you are acting in a more sensible, in a measured, professional way, keeping in mind what is the story to be told, keeping in mind how what is the frame that I'm shooting and how it's going to impact the other person, whoever it is, when they see my picture. So to be able to have that objectivity even with your own self, even with your own shooting process, to be able to get with clarity that this is the frame that I now need. I have a safe shot. I'm not empty-handed anymore, but let me get the picture that matters, which is probably stronger than that immediate first moment, and will tell the story far better, even if it is a few seconds or minutes later. And what was the second question? I forgot.
Sir, you said about empathy and compassion. So I
Yeah.
want to know whether you learned it, or you had some realization. You realized it.
No, it's not. I think it's not realization. It's to do with, again, like I said, the kind of person you are. Like I'm a Sikh by religion, so my grandmother used to go to the Sikh temple. It's called a Gurudwara every day, and on Sundays at least she would take us across. And in our religion system, there is a lot of seva, means that you do service for others. So this whole aspect of caring for others is a very integral part of being a Sikh. If nothing else, you go and clean the place there, or you serve the holy water, Amrit, you serve there, or you go and perform some voluntary service in the langar hall, which is like a community dinner or a community eating space. So you do something. If nothing else, you go and wash utensils. So we used to do that. Even as children, we used to go with our grandmother and used to do some degree of what this seva thing. Now, more than that, I think it's to do also with how I think my grandmother played a huge role in that. How she made us understand, the smaller things of life, about how, like, the food that I'm wasting, the amount of food that I'm wasting, people don't even get in a whole day. Things like that would just register deeply in that young mind of yours, and like that. But then eventually, when you grow up, you start associating with those kind of readings, or those kind of stories, or those kind of poetry, or that kind of other pictures that also. So it's maybe it's hereditary, maybe it is learned, maybe it is, if you want to believe it, from a past life. I don't know. Maybe it's already there to some extent. So what I'm saying is, but it's something that is there inside you, and it's there in every person. I'm saying even the most the brutal person on earth somewhere has empathy, or somewhere has understanding of these values. Why? Because even the biggest bully doesn't want to be hurt, right? So they also, that person also has an understanding that this can cause hurt. Now, if somebody is deliberately hurting the other person, it is their choice. Likewise, as a photographer, also, if I have, I mean, this what is important is to be able to understand this nuanced aspect of life. But what is more important is to be able to translate it visually, because that is our language. So I think that is the tougher part. Having empathy, having compassion may come through educating yourself differently, through the kind of materials that you read or expose yourself to, the kind of movies that you watch, maybe the kind of life experiences that you have. Maybe that can be honed. But I think as a photographer, what is even more important is how now to use that way of seeing things, and being able to sort of translate visually also in your photography language. I think that is the tougher part of all of this,
Thank you,
or the more yeah, more exciting part, or I mean, that's the more fun part, if you have managed to do that, if you're able to manage to do that. Yeah. Yeah, Radhika, please
Thank
carry
you,
on.
Gurinder. I think we'll take one or two more questions because maybe it's getting too late for everybody. But Elanji,
Yeah.
I think somebody called Elanji. You raised your hand. Do you have a question? I don't see the camera, so I
Yes,
don't know.
yes, madam.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Very
The
good.
presentation was very nice, and I'm new to this photojournalism. I just want to ask a very basic question. Uh, any photojournalism gives a message to the society. Should the photojournalist should be a social consciousness person, or should be more conscious person in whatever message he is going to give to the society, and the society may react according to the message which we given. It could be a positive or it could be a negative.
Yeah. So the thing is that we, as a photojournalist, the word journalist is there, and the ideal definition of a journalist is that somebody who in the field has their set of opinions and understandings of or their political inclinations, or their uh, way of how they think, and what they want to show. I mean, all of that may be there at the background in your mind, but when you step out with your camera, your first act should not be based on bias. It should be based on reportage. And by reportage, you as a pure reporter, in this case a photo reporter, you are shooting what you see. You're documenting the scene in front of you as truly as your understanding allows you. Of course, your biases will show somewhere, but it should not override the overall aspect of doing clean reportage, meaning you document what you see and present it cleanly across, and let the viewer decide which side of the understanding they want to take it. Meaning, what I'm saying is, you present facts as they are. You present truth to the best of your understanding and knowledge, and take it across to the viewer, and then the viewer decide which direction they want to take it. And you'll be surprised. You may think this image is doing this. This is what I think I'm doing through my image, but the viewer may come back to you and say, this is what I learned from your image, and it will be totally different from how you had planned it. So, to repeat, your biases will come in the way you shoot, or it will be part of that baggage that you have in your head. But as far as possible, as a photojournalist, your opinions and your biases should not damage the truthful reporting that you are supposed to be doing as a journalist.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gurinder. Is there any other question? Any last question before we wind up?
Ma'am, I had a question again. Sorry.
Is that Pam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Pam, go ahead.
So, in your rich 4 decades of photography, which is the photo that hits hard the most, and which is the best one that you've ever clicked, and why?
You like all your babies, so you can't decide. All of them are favorites. So, but if I don't think I have it right now, but I'll show it to you maybe through Radhika ma'am later. This is a picture I shot in 1988 during a trekking trip, and it was of children at a bus window. If I search for it online, maybe I'll find it immediately, but we don't have the time, so maybe I'll share it later. On maybe Radhika ma'am can share it with you guys later. Is of these children who are playing across a bus window. It's shot in black and white, and for me, it was like, if you've seen Michelangelo's creation of man, in which like there's this finger of God coming and there's this hand of man going out to reach. So that kind of a very delicate moment, but that is happening at a bus window, and there is this apparition of a female, possibly they're one of the children's mother, sitting behind that dirtyish window. It's shot in black and white. It's shot in 1988 on a very small piece of film that was left in my camera, and it was over processed, so the grain is very large, but it is still one of my favorite images because it captures that kind of delicateness of life that I aspire to shoot in my images. And I keep telling myself that I have to improve from what I had shot in 1988. So it's been a while, and I've got there. Sometimes maybe let me see if I can share one particular image that gets close to that, but I wish I included that picture in my website. I don't have it right now. I can't see my share screen. And I'll go to my website again. This image of this girl amidst the prayers, the middle picture. This is at a prayer in Delhi, in Kota area, Fresra Kota area, and it's about this whole the in between moment of, she sees almost like a fairy like apparition between this in appearing in this what one of my colleagues, David Gutenfelder, described as a scene right out of Lord of the Rings. So it is kind of interesting historically, this space, but at the same time there is this delicateness which is kind of that I aspire to get in my images when I'm shooting, which this image also got close to, and thankfully or gratefully it got published in Newsweek also as picture of the week, so it ran a good spread in that also. And here it is. But there are many. I mean, I have too many favorites, so I will not get into which is my top one. Yeah, that's it. How do I stop sharing? Yeah, I'll go back.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.
Uh, so I think it's 7:40, and
Whoopsie.
yeah, and I don't know how you managed in a car, Gurinder, all along, but it's brave. That's
That's
courageous.
great.
It's
So there's an AC on. This is soundproofing is very good. My
okay.
sound is clean,
Okay.
and all is well.
Wonderful.
I'm in a EV car, so there is
Okay.
no other noise.
Okay, lovely. So I thank you, Gurinder, and the people thanking you on the chat as well. Beautiful pictures, sir. Thank you so much for such an insightful session. It's a pleasure. If by chance any one of you has not joined the course, it's free. Please join the course, because through the discussion forum, I can share more materials with you, which Gurinder would share with me, and other stuff as well. As we go along, we discover things and we want to share them. So there's a space for us to continue our association after this session. I think many of you are already here in the course, but some are new names. So if you're not there, the link is on the chat. Join the course, and through the discussion forum, I will share whatever Gurinder shares with me and any other material. Elanji, do you have a last word? Do you want to say something? So Virender Khatkar says, such an awesome session. Venkatesh, thank you. Haripriya, thank you. Kavya, thank you. Rajguru, thank you. Gayatri, thank you. Gurinder sir for a wonderful censure. Shantana, thank you. So a lot of thank yous coming your way, Gurinder. So I also want to conclude saying that when I met Gurinder first to interview him for the course on photojournalism, I discovered as I spent more and more time with him that photography was just one of the things he does. And he does it passionately and with love. But like he emphasizes on the quality of the person that you are, the human being that you are, and how do you look at life, with what inner lens that you look at life, and that influences a lot of what we do in our life, including the pictures that we take. So I want to acknowledge today on this very important day, the World Photography Day, that people like Gurinder are testimony of the fact that the photographs that express and that are realized through a human mind or a human heart or a human consciousness are a expression and a representation of not only the truth that we see through the eye and the mind and the heart, but even our interpretation of the truth. And the more clearer we have an understanding of what are we doing, the better we can represent that truth. So I want to thank you, Gurinder, for sharing your time, your energy, your love, your passion with us. And I hope the universe blesses you with a lot of more magical moments of sharing with the world. And to share with all of you, Gurinder is off very soon to China. He travels soon to cover the Asian Games at China. And I think when he comes back from China, we'll bring him back again to have a session and to get the latest on his travels and his whatever he discovers and what he brings back from China. So thank you, Gurinder.
Sure.
Wish you a very good travel to China,
Thank you.
and thank you for giving us your time. It was lovely.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
We'll
Bye,
catch up again.
Gurinder. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all for joining in as well. Thanks for being there and giving your time. And I hope the session was helpful to you. Uh, uh, Stay in touch. We're going to be having more sessions. The World Photography Day session is over, but through the course on SWAM on photojournalism, every 2 weeks we will be having a session where you will have an opportunity to hopefully meet a photographer in person. And Gurinder, along with many other photographers such as Raghurai ji, Prashant Panjiyar, Dinesh Krishnan, who's the photo editor of The Hindu, and so many other very, I would say, wonderful human beings and photographers and photojournalists will share their insights, their life's learning, their experiences to help you discover more about photography and photojournalism. So if anybody has a question, I see a few raised hands. Rajesh, Bijronia, Elanji. If you have a question, I can answer. Is there a question for me? If not, we can sign off for today.
Ma'am, I have a question. My name is
Yeah, sure,
Malav.
Malav. Please go ahead, Malav.
Yeah, okay. I had a few questions. Probably my answers to those questions would be coming down during the course. Could be a primitive question,
Okay.
but I didn't want to take much of the time of the faculty. My question was like, is there a kind of a platform wherein we can showcase our work as a photojournalist beginners? Of course, we don't have any work so far,
Mm-hmm.
but is there a standard way in which we can create a kind of a portfolio or a kind of a showcase, or is there kind of a platform where we can just keep on posting those kind of pictures? So that was something one which I wanted to ask. Second is, on this day of world photography, my question relates to the photography in the sense that in raw pictures, can we tag those pictures so that we can try and find them later on? Maybe there's something which is going in my mind and I have clicked a picture, but then the same picture could be relevant to something else on a later given date. I can use the same picture in another story.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what story could come up then.
Right.
And if I have stored my pictures in a folder in a way where it's easy for me to find those pictures while tagging them. So if there could be a kind of a small write-up or session or a discussion on how to tag and store those pictures in a
Okay.
folder, which we
Okay.
can use it later on. So these were two of my questions, ma'am.
Yeah. So Malav, the second question is you will get the answer soon, because in our course which you have joined on photojournalism, we have lessons on workflow, on how to organize your work and how to save it. So you can, even after 10 years or 15 years, you have labeled your work and organized it in a systematic manner, so that you can access your work. It's like you yourself gave the answer, that how do we organize it in folders, how do we label it, how do we tag it, so because it can be used on different occasions for different purposes. But if we don't know where our picture is lying, and we have hundreds and thousands of them over the years, then how would we remember? Because we can't. It's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
So very soon, in the coming weeks, we have one of the, as you know, there are 22 experts on the course. I mean, you're in the course, so you know that. And so Gopinath Sri Kandane, who's a self-taught photographer and who does a lot of work with a lot of people, and he collects a lot of body of work. So he has a very excellent, there are ways and ways of organizing. So he shares the way, in a very systematic manner, he teaches all of us how do we have a workflow that we can systematically keep our work, so that we can easily find it whenever we want to find it at any point of time in our journey. So that we will learn that. So you just have to have a little patience and you
Yeah.
will learn.
Yeah.
The first question about, how do you showcase your work, how do you put your work out there? Now there are many sites, in today's world, where you could go and you can share your and many people today, what they're doing, people have Insta accounts, people have Instagram accounts. And people who want to get into photography, or who want to be some sort of influencers, or who would like people to follow them, or who would like to who have the urge to share their work with people beyond a limited, kind of a community. So the best place, I think, is that you have an account on Insta, and you are posting your work on Insta, and you are sharing your work on Insta. Now, one thing that I want you to think about is that, you have to think about it, that don't mix your personal and professional work on social media. This is something you need to be careful about,
Yeah.
because you must realize that though the social media is excellent, but we must all realize we all are also vulnerable, and how much of yourself you want to put out in the social media or in the public domain.
Yeah,
So
so
if
exactly, ma'am. I mean, see, I don't want to mention, but I have created a business profile. Okay, I'm a specialist on Africa, tours to Africa. So I have a profile there with those, business background. I'm a wildlife photographer, so I have another account on Insta for my work that I do over here in India. So do I need to create the third account on Insta where I can showcase all or of of my photojournalism effects, or like, it could be merged. It becomes difficult to manage so many accounts.
Okay, no, but what you could do, like for example, you see Gurinder has a website. You just saw.
Yeah.
Gurinder shared with us that he has gurinderosan.com.
Yeah.
Now you can buy a domain or whatever,
Okay.
Even either you can go on WordPress or you can go on, any other. There's so many of these free sites where you can take a template, you can choose a template, and you can host. I mean, you can post your work on a particular, either a free domain, a free website, a free platform that's available, or you could have your own website which aggregates and puts together the different bodies of your work. So you have categories, like as you saw in Gurinder's work, he has categories on his coverage of Olympics Tokyo 2020, his coverage of Bhutan, his coverage of the tsunami when it came in 2004, because he has a prolific work and diverse work. So here it's like you said, you have one for wildlife, one for this and that, the other. And so it's really a call that each and every person has to take depending on your need, that how diverse is your body of work, and do you need, I mean, it's a headache if you're handling 5 different accounts.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And then you're toggling between, and you have to follow each, and you have to manage each.
So it's a task. It's a task. Yeah.
And then it's also fragmented, it's like fractured. I mean, it's okay. It's good to be specialized, because then the Insta page of yours on wildlife would reach out to people who are interested in wildlife.
Naturally.
So it's all right. I mean, you can have that as well, and it could have its own, second, life, parallel kind of life going on. But maybe if you feel you're ready for it, and if you have a body of work which deserves to be put all onto one platform, you can look at something like WordPress that's free, or Wix, or any other site, or you can go in for a domain and have your own, your name and .com or whatever, and have a menu which introduces your work to whoever you wish to.
Yeah, perfect. That's so great. That's very insightful. Like,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
help me a lot. Yes, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
My pleasure. Yeah. Anybody else has a question, a burning question for now, or we are good to go? Okay. So I think we're good to go. And there are people from last year as well. Dimple, I see you from last year. That's nice that you came in. And yeah, so great. And all of you here, thank you so much for coming in, and wish you all the best. And may you be able to take the photographs you want to and share it with whoever you want to, and personally or professionally take it forward the way you want. And like I want to say once again, if you are serious about exploring the various nuances, perspectives, and dimensions of this beautiful form of expression called photography, and also photojournalism, it is a good idea to sign up for the course on photojournalism, because you will hear and see so many different types of people doing different kinds of photography that will enrich you and inspire you to find your voice, your style, your way of expressing yourself. Because when we get a lot of exposure, then maybe it helps us to fine tune exactly what we want to do. Sometimes it helps us. So when help is available, take it. It's for free.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So bye all. Bye for now. Good night. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
प्लीज ऑल एक बार अगर सभी प्लीज ऑल कैमरा ओपन टेकन ए पिक्चर.
अब मुझे मालूम नहीं लोग अपना कैमरा ऑन करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे. ज्यादातर लोग अपना कैमरा ऑन करते नहीं हैं. आप कोशिश कर सकते हैं, पर चांस कम है. आप बहुत देर से फरियाद कर रहे हैं. I saw your message. बहुत देर से आपका आया है, but हाँ सुन, नहीं मेरे ख्याल से कैमरा लोग नहीं शायद ऑन करना चाहते हैं,
हाँ,
करना होता
मैंने
तो
जान सब लिखा मैम, क्योंकि देखिए इस तरह का सेशन बहुत कम होता है जब से कोरोना काल का। मेरा आवाज जा रही है?
हाँ आवाज आ रही
हमारी
है
आवाज
सोनू,
जा
हाँ
रही है?
बोलिए, आप बोलिए मिस्टर सोनू, आवाज आ रही है, आप बोलिए।
जब से कोरोना काल का समय बीता है, कोरोना काल के बाद सभी कार्यक्रम ऑफलाइन होने लगे हैं,
हाँ
और उस बीच में ऑनलाइन कार्यक्रम होना। राधिका, हमारी आवाज जा रही है?
आपकी आवाज आ रही है,
मैं
बिल्कुल
बोल
साफ आ
रहा
रही
था
है, आप बोलिए। हाँ बोलिए, आप
कि
आवाज आ रही है।
जहाँ कोरोना काल के बाद हम
आपका
लोगों
इंटरनेट
ने
स्टेबल, आपका इंटरनेट स्टेबल नहीं है, मुझे आपकी आवाज नहीं आ, अब आपकी आवाज चली
ऑफलाइन
गई है।
कार्यक्रम
आपका इंटरनेट स्टेबल नहीं है, आवाज नहीं आ रही है आपकी।
हम लोगों ने हम लोगों ने ऑफलाइन कार्यक्रम को देखा है, और उसके बाद इस तरह का सेशन जब होता है तो बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है, क्योंकि
मिस्टर सोनू, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है। आपका इंटरनेट शायद इंटरनेट इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं है, आपकी आवाज चली गई है। ये कैमरा भी ऑफ है, फिर से लिंक डाल देना एंड में। मिस्टर सोनू, आप ये कोर्स का मैंने लिंक ऊपर दिया है, आप उसमें ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, और बाद में फिर आप बात कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि अभी आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है। Rahi, you're here. I just want to tell you that the emails that I'm sending to you are not going, because I get a message that your inbox is full. I don't know if you received the last email. You asked a question and I replied to you, but I got the notification that your inbox is full or your Gmail account is full. So please check your email and see if you are short on memory or something. Just wanted to give you the feedback because I saw you online.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Are you getting my emails now, Rahi?
I've got the
हमारी आवाज
emails
आ
with
रही
the
है मैम?
invitations and all,
हाँ.
but I haven't got the
हाँ,
emails of
हाँ,
your
so Rahi,
reply.
please check, because I'm getting when I'm replying to you, I get a notification that it is not being delivered to you because your account is temporarily full or something like that. Just check your account. ओके
Yeah, ma'am, sure.
हाँ सोनू जी, आपको अपना कैमरा बंद करिए, आपका इंटरनेट शायद थोड़ा सा स्ट्रांग नहीं है। हाँ सोनू, मिस्टर सोनू, आपके लिए मैंने मैसेज डाला है, मैंने आपके लिए मैसेज डाला है चैट पे। आपने ये कोर्स ज्वाइन किया है क्या, फोटो जर्नलिज्म का, मिस्टर सोनू?
कोर्स ज्वाइन किया मैम। मैं तो
आप इस कोर्स का हिस्सा हो?
से मुझे ये
हाँ जी, मुझे आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है मिस्टर सोनू, फिर से बोलेंगे?
बोला था मैम।
हाँ जी, चैट में मैंने लिंक डाला है, आप वो लिंक कॉपी कर लीजिए कोर्स का, और उस कोर्स में आप, ये फ्री का कोर्स है, इसमें आप ज्वाइन करिए। और उसमें हम हर 2 हफ्ते में हम मिलते हैं, संडे के संडे। हम अगले संडे फिर मिलेंगे, और फिर आपके जो भी और सवाल हैं, जो भी हैं, वो आप कोर्स में आगे रख सकते हैं। मैंने चैट में लिंक दिया है कोर्स का, उसको आप कॉपी कर लीजिए।
ओके,
मैं मीटिंग बंद करूंगी।
अब हमारी आवाज जा रही होगी, उम्मीद है कि अब हमारी आवाज जा रही होगी।
हाँ आ रही है मिस्टर सोनू, पर मुझे अब मीटिंग बंद भी करनी है, इसलिए अगर आप
ओके
ये
ओके
लिंक
ओके ओके।
नहीं, आप ये लिंक कॉपी कर लीजिएगा, ये मैंने लिंक डाला है आपके लिए, ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज स्वयं करके, वो लिंक कॉपी कर लीजिएगा, और इस लिंक पे आप ये कोर्स में आप ज्वाइन करिए, और उस कोर्स में आप फिर से गुरिंदर ओसान से मिल पाएंगे, और भी अदर बाकी फोटोग्राफर से मिलेंगे। और हर 2 हफ्ते में इंटरेक्शन रखती हूँ, संडे के संडे। हम लोग अगले संडे मिलेंगे फिर से, ठीक है? आप कॉपी कर लीजिए, फिर उसके बाद मैं ये मीटिंग बंद करती हूँ। आई थिंक कॉपी कर लिया। ओके, ठीक है, ओके, ओके देन, चलिए, okay, thank you all. We will then close. Mr. Balamurugan, I am ending the meeting.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll just end the meeting. Yeah.